going through the days of the Aza-e-Hussain, I wanted to share with you one important hadith from Imam Jaffari alayhi salatu wasalam. It's a way of explaining the level of the tragedy as well as the importance of the day of Ashura, because sometimes, people start comparing the tragedy of Karbala with other events which has taken place in history in different parts of the world. And this is where we have to realize that, the Aza-e-Hussain, the day of Ashura, has its own special status. Let me begin with the words of Bibi Zainab salawatullah alayha, where this is on the eve of Ashura, when Imam Hussain was sitting and reciting poetry, which indicated that this is the end for me. Where Zainab, when she heard that, and she started crying, and the way she expressed her sorrow was very interesting. She says, "Today is the day that my grandfather Rasulullah passed away. Today is the day that my mother passed away. Today is the day that my father passed away. Today is the day that my brother passed away." And this is we might say it's just an emotional statement of a lady who is in that very tragic environment. But it's interesting to see how this was then explained without mentioning this statement from Zainab. This was explained by our sixth Imam, in a different way. This is a narration from Sheikh Saduq from Hilal al-Sharaib, based on his sanad going all the way to Abdullah bin Fadl al-Hashimi, one of the members of Banu Hashim. He says that I went to Abu Abdullah Jaffari bin Muhammad Rizvi alayhi salam, and he says, I asked him, "Yabna Rasulullah, كيف صار يوم عاشوراء يوم مصيبة وغم وجزع وبكاء دون يوم الذي قبض فيه رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم ويوم الذي ماتت فيه فاطمة عليه السلام واليوم الذي قتل فيه أمير المؤمنين واليوم الذي قتل فيه الحسن عليه السلام بالسم." So his question is that, O son of the Prophet, tell me, how does the day of Ashura become the day of, suffering and sadness and mourning and grief, lesser than the days when Rasulullah was passed away, or the day when Bibi Fatima passed away, or the day when Amir al-Mu'mineen was killed, or the day when Imam Hassan was killed by poisoning. And this is where the sixth Imam explains it in a very different way. He says, "إن يوم الحسين أعظم مصيبة من جميع سائر الأيام." The day of Hussein, the day of Ashura, is greatest in the suffering compared to all these other days, whether it's Wafat of Rasulullah, or the day when Bibi Fatima passed away, or the day of Shahadat of Amir al-Mu'mineen, or even that of Imam Hassan. And then this is where he explains, this is important to realize, it's not an issue of the level of suffering, or the level of how many days of thirst was there. Then we say, oh, there's another group which was thirsty for a week, for example, in history. Or the number of people who were killed, or the weapons which was used. It is not this issue. The issue is the status of Abu Abdullah Hussain. That makes that tragedy the most important. The way he explains, وَذَلِكَ, he says, أن أصحاب الكساء الذي كان أكرم الخلق على الله تعالى كانوا خمسة. He says when it comes to the people of Kisa, the people of, the mantle, whom we call Panjetan or, Ahlul Kisa, they were the best of the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There were 5 of them. فَلَمَّا مَضَى عَنْهُمُ النَّبِي بَقِيَ أَمِيرُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَفَاطِمَةَ وَالْحَسَنُ وَالْحُسَيْنِ. When the Prophet passed away, out of those 5, Amir al-Mu'minin was still alive, Fatima was alive, Hassan was alive, Hussain was alive. وَكَانَ فِيهِمْ لِلنَّاسِ عَزَاءً وَسَلْوَةً. By looking at them, this was a way of consoling themselves. فَلَمَّا مَضَتْ فَاطِمَةَ كَانَ فِي أَمِيرِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَالْحَسَنِ وَالْحُسَيْنِ لِلنَّاسِ عَزَاءٌ وَسَلْوَةً. When Bibi Fatima passed away, Amir al-Mu'minin was still there. Imam Hassan was there, Imam Hussain was there, so they still, people look at them and console themselves. فلما مضى منه أمير المؤمنين كان للناس في الحسن والحسين عزاء وصلوة. When Amir al-Mu'minin passed away, Imam Hassan was there, Imam Hussain was there, out of these 5 Ahlul Kisa. But فلما قتل الحسين, but when Hussain was killed, لم يكن بقي من أهل الكساء أحد للناس فيه بعده عزاء وصلوة. When Hussain was killed, there was no one left from the Ahlul Kisa, the 5, that they could still look at them and see that as a continuation of the presence of Ahlul Kisa. فكان ذهابه كذهاب جميعهم. Therefore his passing away, like the passing away of all of them. كما كان بقاؤه كبقاء جميعهم. And as long as he was alive, it was like as if all 5 of them were alive. فلذلك سار يومه أعظم مصيبة. And therefore that day is considered to be the day of the greatest, grief and sorrow for us. And then, the Abdullah bin Fadl al-Hashimi, then he asked a follow-up question. He says, but after him there was Imam Zayn al-Abidin. And this is where Imam Jaffari Sadiq alayhi salam explains by saying that, yes, he was an Imam, he was the guide for us after Imam Hussain alayhi salam, but remember, he is not part of Ahlul Kisa. He had not seen Rasulullah. The knowledge that he inherited from his father was from his grandfather, and from Rasulullah, not directly. Whereas these 4 other individuals were, part of the, the life of Rasulullah, and that is the difference between Ahlul Kisa. When we look at our own Imams and the Ahlul Bayt. And this is where, this issue of even Imam Hassan alayhi salam, and I mentioned that briefly in the Friday khutbah, that one of the last days when after he had been poisoned and he was suffering from it, before he passed away, when Imam Hussain alayhi salam came to see him in one of those visits, Imam Hassan realized that the younger brother is feeling very, very sad with his situation. And he says, oh my brother, don't grieve that much. And he uses the word, La yawma ka yawm al-Hussain. Your day is, more day of suffering compared to what I'm going through. So even Imam Hassan actually, uttered these words and these sentiments even before the events of Karbala. So remember that, we can go through different challenges in life, individually or collectively. Always remember the day of Ashura is the day of Ashura. It is a'azam al-masa'ib. Nothing can surpass that on the level because of the status of the person who was killed, not just the means and the ways used for killing him and torturing him. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the true ma'rifat of the Ahlul Bayt, the Prophet and his family, especially when we talk about Ahlul Kisa. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار برحمتك يا رب.